Hello, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. We are starting. Hello, one house. We are starting. First of all, I would like to apologize for starting behind schedule. We were sort of waiting for the keynote speaker, who I believe is still on his way. But we are going to start in earnest. So to start, we are going to have the MBA opening prayer because Mr. Ore Atijon to give us the opening MBA prayer. The prayer is projected on the screen. So may we all rise.
Almighty God, our Father, we pray to you to be with us in all our deliberations and to direct our endeavors, so that we shall continue in all humility to glorify thy name and do that which is right and just for our profession, its members, and our fellow men and our country. Amen.
Thank you very much. So once again, we welcome everyone to this inaugural memorial lecture in honor of our late chairman, Mr. MMA SANNI. He was a father to some. He was a leader. He was a pathfinder. And we are here to remember him and also to pray that he continues to rest in peace. At the same time, we welcome members of the family and the community, and we also welcome members of his own immediate constituency, the legal community. So to start with, we recognize the presence of the Honorable Chief Magistrate of the Etiosa Magisterial District, our honor, Mrs. Kikelomo Doja Ojo. So we recognize the presence of Bale T.I. Olukolu, is a Bale of Igbo Efon. We also recognize the presence of Alhaji Nofio Abiodun Olukolu, an uncle to Mr. SANNI. Also recognize the presence of Mrs. Titi SANNI, the wife to Mr. SANNI, and also the children that are here present. We recognize the presence of Mr. Afisu Olatunji SANNI. We recognize the presence of Mrs. Tijani Ganiyat. We recognize the presence of Mrs. Nuratu Aziz SANNI Eshilokun. We also recognize the presence of our chairman here, starting with the chairman of the Ikorodu branch, Olaumi Adeola, the chairman emeritus of Lagos, Olabisi Makonjola, the chairman of Surulere, Mr. Anene Nwadukwe, the chairman of our parents' branch, the Lagos branch, the premier branch, Mrs. Uchenna Kingbade. We also recognize the presence of some of our elders at the bar, Mr. Clement Aote, here present, Mrs. So sorry for the break in transmission. I recognize the presence of Mrs. Muna Sidi Ali. She's also an elder of the branch. I recognize the presence of Bale Okumoyibo, the Bale Alasia is there present. I recognize all the ESCOs of the MBA Etiosa branch and the members of Etiosa branch here present. So at this point, I'll be calling on the chairman to come and give his opening remarks. Mr. Chairman, Olariwaju Obadino, the chairman of the MBA Etiosa branch.
Good morning, everyone. Relying on the existing protocol, in no particular orders, this is the opening remark for this maiden memorial lecture in honor of late MUFUTAU, MABOKUNRINJE, ADEWALE, SANNI, the pioneer chairman of Nigerian Bar Association, Etiosa branch, whom we all gather here to celebrate today. And I also want to lend voice to the apology rendered by the compere at the beginning that it is not in our usual characteristic as a professional body and also as a branch to delay our event in this much. We are very time conscious. Everything that orchestrated the delay was beyond us. We tried to avert it, but we are sincerely sorry and we appreciate your patience to tolerate us to this extent that we are starting the program. Thank you and God bless you. Opening remark. In commemoration of the first memorial lecture in honor of MMA SANNI, pioneer chairman, the Nigerian Bar Association, Etiosa branch. Distinguished colleague, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a deep sense of honor, reflection, and gratitude that I welcome you all to the first memorial lecture in honor of a remarkable leader, a devoted barman, and the trailblazer who laid the very foundation upon which the MBA Etiosa branch proudly stands today, the late MMA SANNI. Today is not just an event on our calendar. It is a solemn celebration of a legacy that continues to inspire our values, our service, and our collective identity as a branch. Mr. SANNI was more than a pioneer chairman. He was a man who envisioned a united, vibrant, and principled Etiosa bar, one rooted in integrity, professionalism, excellence, and unwavering commitment to justice. His dedication to building institutions, nurturing young lawyers, public interest-related matter, community member excellence, and elevating the noble profession of law remains etched in our hearts. And so, as we gather here today, we do so not in money, but in acknowledgement of a life well lived and a legacy worthy of emulation. This memorial lecture marks the beginning of enduring tradition that will come on a yearly basis, a reflection of the value he embodied while alive. And this ideal he championed will continue to resonate with us as a branch. It is also an opportunity for us to renew our commitment to strengthening our branch, deepening our impact in the society, and upholding the finest principle of the bar. To the immediate family and extended family of MMA SANNI, we identify with you on this occasion of 1 year remembrance of your dear son. We encourage you to keep having solace in the Almighty Allah, who giveth and taketh as he pleases. Be readily assured that all will be well with the entire family. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to the planning committee for their diligence, to our distinguished speaker distinguished speaker for accepting to enrich the occasion, all our panelists that are here present and they were here promptly on time, and to every one of you for being here to honor a man whose contribution continues to shape our journey. May the memory of MUFUTAU, MABOKUNRINJE, ADEWALE, SANNI remain a guiding light. May his legacy inspire us to build, to serve, and to lead with courage and purpose. Thank you all, and you are welcome.
While the chairman was giving the opening remarks, a friend of the bar, a friend of the MBA Tiosa, our pioneer legal advisor, while we were still operating as a forum, walked in. He came here wearing two caps, both as a friend of the bar and as a brother to our dear chairman, who we are here to remember. And his name is Honorable Justice Olukolu. So at this point, we'll be inviting upstage the panelists. And these are gentlemen of the bar who worked together with our late dear chairman while he was the chairman of the MBA Tiosa. So these were chairmen during his time. And we'll start by inviting upstage Olabisi Makonjola, who is the former chairman of the MBA Lagos, the immediate past chairman. He's just retired. He's a floor member now. Then we invite upstage Olaomi Adiola, the chairman of Ikorodu branch. We invite upstage Anene Nwadukwe, the chairman of Surulere branch. And the moderator for today is the sitting chairman of the Premier Bar, Mrs. Uchenna Akingbade. So at this point, I will hand over the mic to the moderator to do what she knows how to do best.
Good morning, everyone. We are gathered here today to celebrate the memorial of a great man. We all encountered him in different ways. His family is here. He was encountered as a family man, a husband, a father, a brother, a friend. Those of us on this panel encountered him as a friend, a colleague. For some, he was more than that. My Lord Justice may have experienced him as an astute legal practitioner in addition to other experiences that he may have of him. So essentially, we are here today to look at the case study, the case of MMA SANNI. So yes, it's a memorial, but we want to look at the case of his life, the things that he did, and we want to draw lessons from those things that he did and why he's so special, why he's such a great man. I'm sure when we were all coming in here, I was trying to locate the secretariat because it's wearing a new look. It was his name on the other building that helped me identify this place as the secretariat. For someone to have his name, an entire secretariat named, a building in an entire secretariat named after him, that goes to show the level of impact that he had in his lifetime and even beyond his lifetime. So, we are just going to speak freely, and we are going to speak from our hearts. It's not scripted. So we are just going to talk about him, and we will draw lessons from what the different panelists will be saying about him. And I'll start with my predecessor in office, Mr. Olabisi Makanjuola, who spent quite some time with MMA SANNI. And I must say, MMA SANNI was actually a very active member of the NBA Lagos branch. So we had to deal with two different things in a short time. We had to deal with him moving to Etiosa branch for greater good, and we had to deal with his loss. So I'll yield to my friend and brother to my right, Mr. Bisi Makanjuola. And I'll just say, when you hear the phrase, the case of MMA SANNI, tell us something. What comes to mind based on your experiences with him?
So good morning, everyone, and all protocols duly observed. I must thank my Lord here present. I must thank Your Honor here present, and the distinguished clergymen here present, our clergymen here present, the KBC and other royal fathers here present, and of course the family of my Oga. I still consider him as my Oga even in death, MMA SANNI. I consider myself privileged in the sense that I was the one who signed the letter where other Lagos branch chairmen had not signed. I was the one who signed the letter of no objection that ultimately led to the creation of the Etiosa branch of the NBA. What I have not told people is that in signing that letter, I received backlash to say, oh, why are you letting them go? They'll become bigger than you, they will take your space, they will take your shine. And I said that governance is good when you take governance to the people. And having lost Mr. Abioye Akirile almost a year to when it turned out that MMA SANNI too passed, I felt that the least I could do was to honor the work that Abioye SANNI had done at that time, not knowing that sooner rather than later, MMA would follow suit. And I'm going back to history to explain how I have earned to speak about my boss, MMA SANNI, who of course was many years older, but always carried himself as if he was a junior lawyer. Very, very respectful man. And so we were together in the body of chairman of the NBA for the time that God kept him alive. But my first major interaction, I'd been seeing him as a member of the Lagos branch. And I must say that even when Etiosa branch eventually became a full-fledged branch, MMA SANNI will still come around to Lagos branch meetings and Lagos branch events. You know, that showed somebody who has charisma. That showed somebody who was not proud. Other people would have felt, look, I'm now my own chairman. Why should I go to another branch and be a floor member? So we'll still come to Lagos branch meetings. And that showed the caliber of person he was. But my first major interaction with him was the case of Bolanle Rahim. When Bolanle Rahim passed in that sober December a few years ago, MMA stood tall from the police station to Bolanle's house back to Ikeja, the office of the IGP. MMA was there. It was an embodiment of leadership. It showed inspiration and it showed guidance. And he did not do all of those things for personal gains or what you call it. He did those things because they were things that MMA believed in. So as we sit here today to talk about MMA SANNI as a consumer advocate, as a human rights activist, and as a public interest litigator, for me, MMA SANNI embodied what the average legal practitioner should be, both in terms of courage, in terms of discipline, and in terms of the conduct of the law. He was indeed a consumer advocate. It's a pity that he went the way he went, but I do remember the day before his death, we had shared a text message, and the current chairman of Etiosa is privy to that text message. And our plan was that when you come back from your trip to Ilorin, we'll then discuss to address these issues. Alas, I received a call from the current chairman of Etiosa on that sad day that MMA SANNI had gone. And what did I do? I ordered that the branch platform be immediately shut down, so the branch platform was muted. Lawyers were asking, what's the occasion? Why have we decided to shut down the branch platform? But I didn't want a case where such a news would be broken without the respect that it deserves, because it seemed to me that humans are fond of broadcasting. It seems that it's about who is the first person to share the news of someone's demise. It seems that is what we try to do in this country, while not respecting the privacy of even the person in death, and also the privacy that the family of that person may deserve. Because I felt that those are the kind of things that MMA SANNI would have done. As a human rights activist, MMA SANNI was somebody who did cases. I may not have been privileged to do cases with him for free, pro bono cases, but I know from what I've come to read and hear that he was a man who poured himself to the defense of the poor and the less privileged. I stand to be corrected, but I doubt that there's any lawyer in Lagos today that has a secretariat or a building in a secretariat named after him. I stand to be corrected. I doubt there's any lawyer in Lagos today. But in less than a year, the Etiosa local government has deemed it fit to immortalize our brother MMA SANNI by naming a building in the Etiosa local government after him. Again, it goes to show the level of pro bono litigation and human rights advocacy that our brother MMA SANNI poured to the people of Etiosa. I was privileged also to visit his final resting place. And I said to myself, this man could have done what most politicians do, which is to amass money, which is to put himself first. But it turned out to me and many others that our brother MMA SANNI was somebody who obviously put the people ahead of himself. And I think I can even say that he put the people ahead of his family. And that is why today we continue to celebrate MMA SANNI. It would have been nice if the keynote address speaker eventually made it, but there are some, and I do hope that when the mic comes back to me, I will speak to one or two things that the keynote speaker in his paper has highlighted as relates to MMA SANNI. I think that MMA SANNI should become a case study for everybody, not just lawyers, for all professionals to study the person, the servant called MMA SANNI, because I've come to realize, leading a branch, that many of us just want to lead, we don't want to serve. MMA was one person that served, and he poured himself into people. He poured himself into the less privileged, He poured himself into the downtrodden. And as we honor and celebrate him today, I do pray and hope that his legacy will continue to live on and on. Thank you for now. Till the mic comes back to me.
Quickly, I'd like to call up stage Mr. M.A. Oluwalambe. He is the representative of the chairman of Badagry branch. The chairman of Badagry branch is Mr. Latif Rashidi. Also, our father is already upstage and he needs no formal introduction, but we'll try our best. Bale T.I. Olokolu.
So, we're Africans, we are Nigerians, we have high respect for culture. So my next discussant will be our revered Bale to the left. Sir. Yes, sir. We'll come to you first before we continue with the remaining, given your standing in the society. So we want you to speak to the life of MMA Sani. We are here today to study his life. You know, he was different things to different people. He was a consumer advocate. He was a human rights activist. And he was a public interest litigator.
Thank you very much. I will not be able to say anything.
Okay, sir.
Because, sorry.
Hold on, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry to do this. I'm really very, very sorry. Yes. So, perhaps most of us don't know the relationship between the Bale of Igwefo and Dewale Sonny. He's a father, to Dewale. In fact, as a matter of fact, he took charge of him as a toddler, till he became an adult. So he cannot necessarily speak under our culture, about his son. He's never done, please. He's just here, maybe perhaps to be on the high table as a Bale of Igwefo. Do we get that?
Yes,
okay, thank you.
Well guided, my lord. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So we'll move on to my sister chair from Ikorodu, who also spent a lot of time with Mr. MMA Sani. So when you think about Mr. Adeola Olaomi, when you think about MMA Sani case study, what do you think about him? Tell us about his life as all of these things: consumer advocate, human rights protector, public interest litigator. What was your experience with him like serving the bar? He did a lot. Mr. Makanjola has already spoken to how he poured himself out selflessly for the bar, for everybody, not just lawyers, lawyers and non-lawyers alike. So speak to us about your experience with him. Touch on this case study, which is MMA Sani.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And my lords, honorable magistrates, KBAC and chiefs here present, and distinguished colleagues. And of course, the family of the man that we are all gathered here today to honor, Mrs. MMA Sani. Thank you for being here. Okay, I might not have spent so much time with Mr. MMA Sani, but the little time I spent working with him was when I was the LOC secretary of the annual general conference of the MBA. And I took note because Mr. MMA Sani is someone that is always punctual to events. That stands him out. And another thing that I noticed was MMA SANNI is someone who is bold and courageous, and is always willing to contribute his quota. And when I say contribute, he contributes meaningfully to discussions and issues around him. Then over time, I started noticing other things. I can stand here today, even though my jurisdiction is a bit of a distance from Etiosa, to acknowledge the fact that MMA SANNI was a servant leader. I was not told. It was something that I saw. And when I saw it, I asked questions. Unknown to him, then people started giving me like different sides, and I got interested in this person. In one of our meetings, we were supposed to visit the site itself. Then I saw a branded vehicle coming. I said, oh, our colleagues from Etiosa, they are here. And someone said to me, do you know that's his personal vehicle? He said he decided to dedicate it to the service of the bar. And that is something that is very rare, especially for those in the position of power. Because sometimes being in the position of power for some people can just be the title. I direct, I give instructions, I lead. It's very rare when you see someone come to the point of servant leadership. When somebody comes to the point of realizing that I need to make my people a bit more comfortable. Instead of assuming that, after all, we're a new branch and everybody is aware of our situation. For someone who is willing to go the extra mile to ensure that the image of the brand, of his branch, is actually something that he improves on, and he puts the branch out there, and also ensures that he cares for his people, because he's always watching out for them, even while we were together. I read one of the testimonies that some people gave about him. It was one of our colleagues, because when we are talking about human rights, being defenders, consumer rights advocates, and being public interest litigators, most of us assume as lawyers that it always has to be the lawyer pouring himself out to the society. Yes, we must pour ourselves out to the society. And that's one of the ways that the society feels closer to justice. At the same time, we forget that even the lawyers themselves are part of the society. And some of these injustices that we are talking about, some of these socioeconomic factors also affect some underprivileged colleagues that we have in the society. And then when we put expectations on people, we must ensure that we equip them to be able to deliver to the society. This was one of the things I was able to pick from the testimonies about MMA SANNI. When I heard that a certain young lawyer went to his office, well, hopeful, but uncertain that he was going to get a job, there was no advertisement that he was recruiting or anything. But one of the good things about that encounter that day, because I also rejoice on behalf of that colleague, because what he did was he made somebody. Although he wasn't recruiting, MMA SANNI ensured that he didn't leave his office without a solution. And what was the solution? It was providing him a space to be able to work. I might not be able to offer you employment, but I'll give you a space where you can work, where you can do something for yourself. With a space comes much more than a structure or a chair and a table. You also have mentorship, you have guidance. It means that if I get a job or I have some professional challenges, I can always revert back to the partner of that firm or use the resources of the firm, the human resources, to actually get my job done. He has not paid that person, but he has given him what it takes for him to survive. And today that lawyer is a better person for it. One of my principal partners, the very first partner that I worked with, said something to me when an incident happened in my firm. Very years back, I was, I think, a year or 2 years at the bar then. An elderly man, middle-aged thereabout, walked into our law firm, somewhere in Marina then. And then he came in, I welcomed him, he sat down. Then I went to him thinking that maybe he's a potential client or he has some challenge. So I went to talk to him. I said, something I can help you with. Who are you willing to meet? And I said, no, that he just wants to rest a little bit, that he's a lawyer, that he had a matter from outside, he came from outside jurisdiction, had a matter around, the thing didn't go on, I needed to file some processes and things. I said, okay. So I went inside to inform my principal, to tell him that there's somebody here. And he said something to me. I said, have you offered him water? I said, I would inform the receptionist. I said, go and offer him water. You just told me that he has a challenge as a lawyer. You must learn that there are certain ethics of the bar, certain traditions of the bar that are dying. And it behoves on you, this generation of lawyers, to ensure that it does not die. When a colleague comes from any jurisdiction, wherever it is, they must not be stranded where there is a lawyer within that jurisdiction. When you offer him water, open our library and let him do whatever work that he has to do. Help him with his research and ensure that he's able to utilize his stay while he's here before he goes back to his jurisdiction. You see, that was an eye-opener for me. It meant that it's not so much of the big things that we are expected to do. So when I heard about the gesture of MMA SANNI, it actually confirmed the fact that it's the very, very little things that we do that can go a very long way to make meaningful impacts in people's lives. I would like to stop here for now so that my other...
Thank you for holding it. You can hold on to it. We are coming to you now. Yeah, so Chair Ikorodu branch has said a lot about MMA SANNI, still reiterating what we know, what Mr. Makanjola has said, some of the few things that she's pointed out, she noticed, and some of the values that he had that she's pointed out. His punctuality is something that we really take for granted as a people, given African time and all of that. But people who are punctual actually do set a very good example and help some of us to try to do better. So they may be in the minority for now, but when they continue showing up on time, you that is always late will know that this man will be on time, he will start on time, and that will charge you to do better. So those were some of the values: his punctuality, the fact that he was bold, he was courageous, he was a servant leader, he was a mentor. Those are some of the takeouts that we have from what Ms. Olaomi has just said. And we'll now move on to the chair, Surulere branch. Mr. Anene, you're already holding the mic. So give us your own take on the case study of MMA SANNI. What do you know about him? What was your engagement with him like? Speak to us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Honor, welcome. The family of MMA SANNI. Bale, I greet you, and I want to say thank you for raising a community, not just a man, but for raising a community. The values you imputed in just one person has spread like a colossus. And today, that toddler that you picked up, unfortunately, he's not here, but you've added something that he has given to the society. Thank you very much. I want to welcome all of us that are here. Thank you for making it up. MMA SANNI, I was meeting him at a distance when the relationship started. It started from a distance, just like every other relationship will start. There's always a first time when you get together and then share ideas before you begin to say, oh, I think I have something in common with this individual. As other speakers have been saying, I'm just looking at the family, I'm looking at the wife, the constant smile, and it gives me peace. I know when we had the valedictory service, at least time has passed. Even when there are moments you remember,
but seeing them today is also a beautiful reminder. Now, the man, SANNI, last year at Enugu, when we had our National Executive Council meeting of the NBA, after the meeting, I was coming back to Lagos. I was like, when are you going? He said, no, that he has to go to Port Harcourt. That he wanted to go meet some persons. I said, I hope you don't go through Enugu Port Harcourt Road, because as at then, it was a no-go area. But he said something. He said that was how they were telling me not to come to Enugu, that the southeast is a no-go area. But that he has come to the southeast and he has seen that things were not the way they were projected to be. But again, he is this type of a person. For those that know him personally, he does not shy away from giving his opinion. Even if he's in the minority, he will tell you the way it is. And for what I gathered over the little time that I related with him, he was someone that found his calling at a point in time and knew that this is what I wanted to do. You need to see the glitter on his face when he's talking about representing others, championing a cause. You see that it's an inborn passion for him. I don't know whether he has to do with his experiences, how he came about life, and he felt the society would be a better place if we all give one value to one person. Another thing that strikes me, it shows that I'm not the only person that has this view about SANNI as a person. He was selfless. He was committed. Those that knew him during the NSAS, my brother Chair here, as I said, about the Bolanle Rahim case, so there is no need reinventing the wheel. Those that knew him as in even the Lekki toll gates issue, if he believes, he's a person that when he believes in a cause and he believes that it will serve justice, it is very difficult to intimidate him, for him to pull out of that particular virtue that he wants to. He will go in there with everything he believes he has. Now, you can imagine around 1 p.m., a day before he died, there was a valedictory at Osborne for, I think it was Justice Okay. Yes, so BC was the overall chairman of all the chairmen in Lagos. He was indisposed. The closest person that would have come was MMA SANNI. And then SANNI, I was just coming out of the exam hall and I got a call, it was him. I said, Chair, you know you need to go to Osborne now. I said, no. See, I just finished an exam. BC had already called me, but I told him to call you because you're close by. He said, no, that he was gathering materials, that he had to go to Ilorin the next day. And so he wouldn't be opportune to go. And I said, it's almost 1 o'clock. By the time I would get to that place, and that the funny thing was, if I had known, I would have dressed in a lawyer's garb. So the moment I finished I would just drive from Unilag down to Osborne. He said, you can go. When you go, just dress and, I got there late. But along the line, there were other discussions we had. And what was it? It was centering on one thing that everybody has pointed out, his selfless nature, what he wanted to give back to society. So, in summary, the man MMA SANNI embodies selfless service to humanity. And I must commend Etiosa local government for taking that bold step. For me, he wasn't a politician, because naming that edifice just after him, people will come in and ask, who is this person? And so that's how it is. But to the family, it's a burden. It nags at the soul if you've lost someone you love so much. I have that experience. Memories will keep coming. Sometimes the tears will come. But I just want to say this to them. Take solace that he may not be here physically present, but that you will reap from the good seed that he has sown. That name alone will open doors for you and your children. And I pray, God, that it will continue to be so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. The same theme reverberating through what all of them have said. Courageous. Whatever he sets his heart to do, he pushes through. Consistency and selfless service. Well, we keep on talking about selfless service. You see, selfless service also has its own impacts. While someone is pouring into the society, pouring into the colleagues, you can't have all the balls in the air at the same time. So we also thank the family for giving him the room to serve. Because if things are not okay, thank you, sir. If things are not okay from the home front, it would be distracting to make the impact that one is supposed to make. So, selfless service. And we thank the family too for their contribution to that selfless service and the sacrifices that they made on account of that. We'll now move to my brother from Badagry. Speak to us, sir, about your experiences with the late SANNI. Case study. What can you say about him? What were those values that he extolled that we should all leave this place today imbibing? Speak to us generally about your experience and your encounter with him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Permit me to stand on the already established protocol. Because of our time, I used to call him M.A. Sonny. And he will reply me, if we don't beg God, who are we going to beg? Because my name is Oluwalambe. During the toll gate issue, I got to know his existence that time. And at that point, I saw a man who is ready to protect the interests of his people all the time. So, as at that time, I didn't have close relationship with him until when we met. Usually met at Bar Bench Forum with Honorable CJ of Lagos State. I remember the first occasion when we met, there was issues that the NBA chairmen were trying to discuss with the Honorable CJ of Lagos State, to the extent that, I don't know whether the chairman emeritus will remember, when the chairman said they are going to boycott a lot of activities of Lagos State judiciary if their demands are not met. He was seated by my side, and he was telling me that he believes that if we lawyers, we cannot protect the interests of the public, then we are not doing the duty that the law gives to us. Then when I listened to to him, I said, oh, that's correct. I agree with you, sir. So after the discussion, we were outside, and I greeted him. He said, society can only work if we have lawyers who are ready to protect them. And not just protect them, to ensure that we achieve for the greatest prosperity of society. So I began to listen to him. Most time when we met at the bar forum, I used to try to hear from him. And there was an occasion where he told me that the society today, as it is, that some people believe that they own this society because people have given them power. That unless lawyers speak for people, we won't get the right society we're supposed to have. So from various interactions with him, I see a courageous man. And I see a man of God, a prophet, because most time, I was talking about 4 years ago, or 3 years ago. There are some things, we discussed that later comes to pass. And I see somebody who is ready to work for God. I look at it in that way because there are a lot of, even those of us that are in activism, if you don't have the courage, or if you don't have it in mind that you are working for God without any physical reward, you won't be able to do the work. So Mr. SANNI is not just an activist. He's a man of God. Because he's a man that has absolute interest of the bar, to that extent that I know him. Because he's always saying that if those of us here, we have privilege, we know people to contact, we know people to talk to. What about the junior lawyers that they don't have that privilege? So that we must speak for them in all the reasonable manner. And when we talk about consumer protection, I remember it was one of those days when we were in the office of, when we were with Honorable CJ, we were discussing there are issues in some courts of lights. So I remember he stood up and offered some advice that there are ways of ensuring that we get electricity, but we still need to work harder to ensure that the electricity bill that was later passed now, that we now have Electricity Act. I think as at that time, he was one of those people who advocated for that Electricity Act. That immediately if you have the privilege of having the act being enacted, that the judiciary in Lagos State should take advantage of that to ensure that we have constant power in all our courts, so that you don't have to waste time when you have matter in court. Because it's practically impossible for anybody, especially judicial officers. My Lord is here. It's not easy. Even if with all other work to do, it's not easy for you to work in that condition without necessary power. So he was so passionate about it. That day I remember very well. I said, I asked him, I said, Mr. M.A. SANNI, are you a contractor that you need to do? He said, no, it's not necessary that we all be contractors, but to fix the problem. So I think my little interaction with him at the bar level is a man of God. And he's a man who is ready to sacrifice his life for the well-being and people of the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. You reiterated what the other panelists have spoken to, his courage, his selfless service, but you brought a new a new dynamic to the mix. That's the spiritual, that he's a man of God and he was prophetic. It's interesting. Like I said, I'm sure that all of us in this room will have different experiences of the case study, the man, MMA SANNI. So this program, the program flow was actually supposed to be that the keynote speaker has a paper on this topic. However, unfortunately, our keynote speaker is held up, and this panel discussion was to flow from that paper, but we put the cart before the horse. I'll yield the floor to my brother, Mr. Bisimaka Onjola, to summarize, speak to that keynote paper, make a brief presentation. If the keynote speaker comes in at some point, he'll be able to elaborate on it, but he will speak to it so that we do not miss the true gems and quality of that paper in total.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just to say that the keynote speaker assumed that the event was holding at the Etiosa High Court. So he actually drove past this place to Etiosa Court and is stuck in traffic coming back. But I'll try to do justice. And what I'll do is an abridged version of his paper, because it's a very, very lengthy paper worthy of the man MMA SANNI. So this is just an abridged version of the paper. It says, all protocols duly observed. I must acknowledge the wife and children of our dear brother and friend, Mrs. SANNI, and the wonderful seeds, Ms. Iwalewa SANNI, including our colleague amongst them, ADEWALE SANNI Esquire, and Ms. Aleromi SANNI. I pray for God's strength upon you and all as you navigate this journey. Today is a beautiful day for the bar in Nigeria, being one set aside to honor one of Nigeria's finest advocates and a gentleman to the core. Ordinarily, I should not be here at all because of certain pre-scheduled commitments, but I accepted this invitation wholeheartedly because it has to do with the memory of one that I hold very dearly to my heart, Mr. MUFUTAU, MABOKUNRINJE, ADEWALE SANNI, the iconic pioneer chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, Etiosa branch, the Coastline Bar. The influence of Mr. MMA SANNI became more pronounced by virtue of his status as a legal practitioner. This is the keynote address speaking about MMA SANNI as a legal practitioner. He deployed his knowledge as a lawyer to advance his struggles for a better society. So the question then is, who is a legal practitioner? Now, under and by virtue of section 2.1 of the LPA, a legal practitioner is a person, it says that a person shall be entitled to practice as a barrister and solicitor if and only if his name is on the roll. Until his death, and even till today, MMA SANNI's name was on the roll of legal practitioners at the Supreme Court of Nigeria. But he was not just a lawyer, but a lawyer's lawyer. A lawyer for the oppressed, a lawyer for the downtrodden, and a lawyer for the community. He was an advocate who combined his fine art of advocacy with activism, and he also became a watchdog for the underprivileged. MUFUTAU MABOKUNRINJE ADEWALE was born into the family of Mr. Muniru Ishola SANNI and Madam Taibat Olukolu SANNI of Ojelade family, Idiori compound, Okumopo community in Etiosa. He obtained his West African School certificate in 1986. MMA, as it's fondly called, went to the Federal School of Art and Science, VI, for his HSC GCE A-level, where he finished in 1989. He obtained a BSc Political Science from the University of Ibadan in 1995 and LLB from the same university in 1999. Like MMA SANNI, the bar, in playing its watchdog role in observing the adherence to the rule of law, must adopt legal activism in promoting and protecting public interests and the rights of the less privileged in the society. There is therefore the need for a collective active bar in attaining the duties of the watchdog monitoring roles that lawyers must play in Nigeria's emerging democratic experience. Yes, we have several individual activists who, in the face of executive lawlessness and abuse of power, have remained bold in challenging the excesses of government. Nonetheless, the pockets of victories and stands against lawlessness and corruption cannot withstand the high tides of state-controlled machineries which influence the order of the day. The bar must therefore take a stand collectively as a watchdog of the nation. The bar must move from the individual delegated approach to central and systematic practice of lending its stance on political, economic, and social issues of public interest. It is the absence of a collective active bar that SERAP, very dark man amongst other interested groups, have begun to play some roles of the NBA in testing the validity of several decisions of the government of the day. On examples of lawyers' activism, this is what the speaker goes to say. He says, we need a strong bar that must speak truth to power and take a position on every issue of governance. The precise role of an active collective bar was displayed under the iconic leadership of Alawa Kabashonu, with whom MMA SANNI shares a lot in common, whereby the NBA resounded its opposition to the unpopular military enactment in the 1980s. There, the NBA fought strongly against the Recovery of Public Property Special Military Tribunal's Decree No. 3 of 1984. The NBA's displeasure against this decree was hinged on the fact that the tribunal's composition should be headed by a high judicial officer and not a military officer, and two, that there ought to be a right of appeal to a higher court. The NBA ordered its members to boycott these military tribunals unless changes were made, and this was a success as most lawyers complied. He says that this is what MMA SANNI would have done today. As an advocate, MMA SANNI clearly distinguished himself in many areas of law and was greatly concerned for the society at large. He had certifications and membership in the following professional associations, and then the author goes ahead to name those professional associations where MMA SANNI had interest in. Now, because the paper is quite long, I thought that it would be better if I then did a summary in about 5 minutes or less of what the author says in his paper. Now, on consumer advocacy, which is part of the theme of today's session, the paper addresses and situates 4 roles that legal practitioner it addresses 4 roles. 1, legal practitioner, consumer advocate, human rights activist, and public interest litigator. And all of these were done within a single constitutional and ethical project, validating the rule of law in service of humanity. Forgive me, I'm wearing glasses, but I need to put it off. It argues that although these roles have distinct mandates and methods, they are mutually reinforcing. Effective systems require skilled practitioners to navigate institutions, vigilant advocates to surface them, and imbalance. And it also talks about principled activists who are to mobilize public conscience. The keynote speaker underscores the legal practitioner's role as the stewards of the system, in that they protect due process and they uphold professional ethics and translate complex rules into actionable advice for clients who may otherwise be overborne by power or procedure. These are some of the things that MMA SANNI would have done today. On consumer advocacy, it says that consumer advocates are portrayed as essential to market fairness. They translate diffuse, low-value individual harms into visible aggregate injuries, and they develop evidence on unfair practices. He says that these are the kind of things that MMA SANNI would have fought for today if he was still alive. On human rights activism, being the conscience of the legal order, the keynote emphasizes that activists articulate the moral horizon that laws often lag behind. They surface in invisible arms, and they mobilize communities and keep pressure on institutions to align and practice with principle. He says that those are the kind of things that MMA SANNI would have stood for if he was with here today. The keynote speaker also talks about interdependence and division of labor, ethics and independence, and the problem of holding onto power. He talks about access to justice, and it concludes in the following words: that the four roles are threads in a single fabric, i.e., the legal practitioner keep the weave and they tighten by ensuring everyday life is done well. The consumer advocates protect households from invisible extraction. Human rights activists set the moral compass and mobilize solidarity. And public interest litigators stitch new patterns into the cloth, and thereby growing precedent and structural belief. He says that together, all of this can translate constitutional promises into practical realities. He then concludes by saying that the charge is to deepen collaboration, protect independence, and center dignity, so that the practice of law becomes not only a profession, but a public trust. These are the words of the keynote address speaker. They are not mine, but I just thought to quickly summarize them, given that we are way out of time and the keynote address speaker is no longer here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So you still have the mic, so you jump on that. So, and to speak, the keynote speaker is Mr. Ebu Adewale, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. We still hope that he'll be able to make it, but if he doesn't, you have heard a summary of his speech. So, sir, in a few sentences, I just want us to have some quick takeouts. I want you to extract key points from the summary that you have just presented to us in a few sentences.
So I'll focus on the role and expectation of legal practitioners. MMA SANNI is one of us, and I'm not going to use the word was. MMA SANNI is one of us. And one of the things that jumped at me was a conversation I had with MMA SANNI, which was about we as lawyers being true to the oath we've taken as lawyers, particularly in relation to the decadence that the profession has sunk into today. Whether you're a judge, whether you're a lawyer, and even for those who are politicians, all of us are trained to be lawyers, and that singular web of being lawyers is what binds all of us together. One particular thing that MMA and I had shared was the constant abuse of, or lack of respect for ourselves as lawyers when we unwittingly criminalize civil disputes. It's part of being professional for us not to criminalize civil disputes. And what do I mean by criminalize civil disputes? Today, the general mantra when somebody is displeased with you, you say go to court, because they believe that when you go to court, you spend 10, 15 years in court. And so because of that, some of us now think that when you get a brief and you feel that the best way to satisfy your client is by reporting the person who owes your client money to the police, because you believe that by the time the police invite him and threaten to detain him for a few days, the money will come out, forgetting that that itself is not an act of criminality. It's not an offense to owe money. What is an offense is to steal money. So when we unwittingly criminalize civil disputes such as debt recovery, we are eating into our profession, we are giving our jobs, we are making our courts to be less redundant. And by the way, we have fantastic judges that can dispense justice. But when we as lawyers decide to turn a blind eye to the institution of the courts and then decide to run to the police at every beck and call, Those are the kind of things that MMA SANNI considers to be unprofessional. And so the charge flowing from the paper and from being an astute legal practitioner that MMA was if we can, out of honor and respect for the memory of MMA SANNI, when you are deciding to write that police petition in respect of what is purely a commercial dispute, just remember what MMA SANNI would have said. Abba lawyer, Abba lawyer. I will end it at that. Thank you.
Yes, it's working. Thank you very much, sir. As lawyers, we must, and not just as lawyers, because there are lawyers in this room and there are non-lawyers in this room. As lawyers, as citizens, we must always try to hold ourselves to a higher standard of accountability. I know that given some of the challenges that we have in our country, it's always easy to go for what seems like the easiest path to a solution. But you need to be guided by values, by principles, when you're trying to come about that solution. Lawyers in the building, Bisi Makanjola has reiterated some of the plans that they had or shared visions that he had with the late MMA SANNI. And that is for us to hold ourselves to a higher standard of accountability. Don't just rush to court. Okay, go to court. How do we settle it? We can use police. We can use this. We can use that. It can give you quick results. It can give you quick solutions. But in the long run, how is that impacting on the profession? How is that impacting on our country, the society generally? Those are some things that we need to ask ourselves. And I'll now move to my sister chair from Ikorodu, and I'll just draw from what Mr. Makanjola has just said. And I'll ask you, what are some of the things that you think the MBA today can consciously draw from the lifestyle of Mr. MMA SANNI as a legal practitioner, as a leader, as a bar leader? What were some of those values that he stood for that we've just listened to now? Give us some tips, give us a charge to the MBA. What can we draw from his life, learn from his life, and take home and continue to push the bar to do those things?
Thank you very much, ma'am. From the paper, the summary we just heard right now, what I heard is that as lawyers, we need to be accessible. We need to be visible. We need to be constantly present to attend to issues that affect members of the society. In today's socioeconomic reality where people are faced with hardships and business strives, also in today's Nigeria where we witness a lot of abuses every now and then, I think that the role of a legal practitioner has also experienced by the life of the person we are honoring today, is for us to ensure that we bring justice closer to the people. We bridge the justice gap. And one of the immediate ways we can do that is to be able to bridge the knowledge gap. Let's face it, a lot of issues escalate today. A lot of abuses continue today because people either do not know their rights or they don't know how to seek redress. If we're able to enter into spaces in our communities where we help people to understand some of these rights that they have, both the abuser and the abused, both the seller and the buyer, in line with today's context, it goes a long way to help us, solve problems that would otherwise have escalated. And those problems that already exist, once they know that the arm of the law is there to get me, and I also, people can access justice through the presence of legal practitioners, I'm very sure that we can bring to the barest minimum some of these abuses. We might not be able to stop them because people are dynamic, but let's do our best. Enter into our markets, enter into our local governments, our LCDAs. Sometimes go even into the churches, our religious institutions, because these are institutions that we know hold a level of authority over people, so that they understand that there are certain issues that can be handled in certain way if we approach it with lay down principles of law. And it also helps people to not take laws into their hands. So I think it's essential that we do this for our community. Has a legacy. Sometimes it's usually not easy to reach out, but if we as lawyers, if we as the MBA consciously provide help desk or opportunities for members of the society to approach us when there are issues, I'm very sure that they will begin to rebuild a level of trust in our justice system. And by showing up consistently and by solving some of this problem, the image and the trust between the members of the public and the judiciary can be improved.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those tips that you have given to us. Show up consistently, put yourself out there, make yourself accessible, not just to lawyers, but to members of the public. If as a bar we can set up help desks and things like that to make ourselves more accessible to members of the public, that will be good. So this is a charge for the legal practitioners in the building and the members of the bar here. Now on to you, Mr. Anene, Chairman, Surulere Branch. How do you think the bar can revive collective activism without turning it into noise, politics, or personal branding? We have spoken about how MMA SANNI was an activist for everything, for lawyers, for the society, for the well-being, general well-being of people. And we've spoken about his selflessness. These days, we see people come and take up all sorts of causes, and at the end of the day, they are just trying to promote themselves, promote their personal brand. But one thing that reverberates through this panel, and I'm sure if we give room to the audience to speak, one thing that reverberates is the fact that he served selflessly. So again, sir, I say, how can the bar revive collective activism without turning it into noise, politics, or personal branding?
Thank you very much. So let me answer this question from a sociological perspective. Reason being that going through it again is like rehashing what has been said over and over again. But I want to take it from this angle. What is your legacy? What will you be remembered for? It is not how long, but what is the impact that you leave behind after you've gone? When BC was speaking, he said something about that, about how SANNI would have amassed a lot of wealth and would have left something. It would have been a personal branding, putting himself out there, the firebrand lawyer, the human rights activist, and that's what has given him this. But I want to also challenge us to look at it. How many people that made so much wealth after they had gone, how do we remember them? For those that did not leave footprints on the sand of time. And so we don't need to be 80, 100. Sanni was 54 by the time he was gone. But if you look at the lecture, the paper that was to be delivered, there were lots and lots and lots of pages that was speaking about this man that are taking up this call for social justice without branding himself or putting it up there that if you have this issue, I'm the one you're to come to. So, in summary, it behooves us to understand that if you do good, aside from memorials like this being held in your honor, your family stands, your friend stands also in a position to reap from that which you've benefited, which you've given back to society. But if you're remembered with all manner of negative and vile things, society has a way of rewarding you. You're forgotten as if you never existed. And nothing will be left in your honor, because the truth about it is, in Africa we have this tradition of saying good about the dead once they pass, because nobody wants to vilify the dead. But within our hearts, we know ourselves and we know what one or two things that we may have done. And so this is my own take from it, from this sociological aspect. Do what you're supposed to do to help humanity. And when you're gone, humanity will always celebrate you. Thank you.
So we're rounding up. We will give our brother from Badagry the last shot. So I'll simply ask you, if MMA Sanni were listening to us today, what do you think he will challenge the Nigerian Bar Association to do next?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes. Permit me to say that my chairman, Mr. Eli Rashidi, whom I'm representing here today, intended to be here personally, but due to circumstances that is beyond his own capability, he was unable to, and he asked me to tender his own reserved apology for his absence here. Having said that, I remember a few months ago, we have a serious challenge in Badagry. And the challenge that not only Badagry people that are facing it, but it's for all Nigerians. Because you have about 28 checkpoints from Badagry to Seme. 28 checkpoints. The checkpoint is not the problem. But the problem is violation of human rights. Apart from violation of movement of the people, a lot is going on, to the extent that I think some months ago, a resident was shot by an immigration officer. So this challenge, many people started complaining, and step has to be taken. So some of us approached some politicians, and some of them even told us we should not start what we cannot finish. But we know that it's what we can start and we'll finish it. A place you can move within 5 minutes will take you 30 minutes without traffic. And abuse is beating, destruction of people's property in the name of checkpoints. Sometimes they will say you are receiving calls while we are here. Who are you? Collect your phone, smash the phone. I remember before now the one case of a citizen from Jigawa that his phone was smashed. And we tried to approach the custom controller then, assistant controller. There was no, and we filed a matter at the Badagry High Court. And that is why my point is that if Mr. M.A. Sonny is alive today, I know that what we did in Badagry to ensure that we reduce the checkpoint to only 3 checkpoints today, by the efforts of both the community and also the legal practitioners that are involved. Because we don't just have to fold our arms and be thinking that maybe God will come from somewhere to solve our problems. We have all the required law already in Nigeria. In fact, we have the best legal frames, to the best of my knowledge. But we Nigerians, I'm not just talking to lawyers now, we Nigerians, we have to rise up. Because there is something that is going on now. I don't know whether it's everywhere. You see some people calling themselves security agents. If you are a teenager, you cannot move freely in the name of checking you for drugs or for many other things. Those are the human rights violations that are going on, which I believe that if Mr. M.A. Sonny is alive today, will be at the front to ensure that human rights violation of every citizen is not go without being remedied.
Thank you very much.
So because of our time, let me stop here. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. So a charge to us, to the Nigerian Bar Association, to each and every one of us really, commit to human rights, keep up the fight against social injustice, and speak up when you see something happening. Don't just let the status quo be maintained and believe that you are helpless. Something can always be done. Help will not come from heaven. We will have to be proactive. So I'm sure that if they leave us on this panel, we can continue talking and making different points about the life and the case study of MMA SANNI, our dear brother, our dear colleague, our bar leader. But at this point, we'll bring the panel discussion to an end and we'll yield to the compare to round up the program, so carry on with the program flow. I want to especially appreciate all the panelists for... Who is it? Oh, wow, right on time. Okay, the keynote speaker is here. So I want to especially appreciate all the panelists for pouring out and coming to give your own perspective of the man, the case study, MMA SANNI. And we're grateful to the Etiosa branch for giving us this opportunity. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Please keep clapping, keep clapping. I believe they did a wonderful job, even though it is impossible to exhaustively discuss the life and times of the late MMA SANNI. You know, there's a saying that the best is always saved for the last. Just as the panel session was winding up, the keynote speaker walked in. Our father and our leader, Ebun Adegborua, SAN. Please clap on for him. Well, shortly, before we call him up stage, we would like to recognize the presence of the Vice Chairman of the Etiosa local government, Honorable Idowu Badru. Please clap on for him. We also recognize the presence of Alhaja Ganiyat Sani. Please clap on for her. We recognize the presence of the president of the Etiosa Heritage Organization, Associate Professor Waziri Adisa, and the presence of the PRO of Etiosa Heritage Organization, Honorable Mr. Lawal Olalekan. So with the kind permission of the chairman, I have the honor to welcome upstage the keynote speaker, our father and learned silk, Honorable Ebun Adegborua, SAN, to give his keynote speech.
Thank you very much. Let me first apologize profusely at that for my lateness. I thought that the High Court complex that was named after my friend, Mr. MMA Sonny, was the venue, so I actually went to Ajah and had to trace my way back here. I didn't check the invitation to note the venue. I'm very sorry. I apologize for keeping you all waiting. Let me stand on existing protocols, but of course, bear with me as a lawyer. When we gather in a hall and we have our leaders with us, even if we are going to skip protocol, we must mention them. And I will start with my noble lord, my own friend, but now my Oga, Honorable Justice Olukolu, my lord, sir. God bless you. Thank you, sir. And of course, I would like to thank and greet Madam, Mrs. Sonny. Thank you, Madam, for being here. And our daughter, Iwalewa. She's not here. And of course, our colleague, Mr. Ademola Sonny Esquire. Thank you for being here. In equity, if you say. And of course, Ms. Aleromi. Thank you for all being here. And of course, all our colleagues, especially our chairman, the organizing committee, and all my friends and chairman from MBA all over Lagos State. Your presence here is a confirmation of who Mr. MMA Sonny is, was, and will still be forever in our hearts. So I'll ask that you permit me to just summarize my lecture. I already gave a copy to the chairman of Etiosa local government. It's something I'd like to speak to personally because it's based on my experience and my interaction with our friend, Mr. MMA Sonny. And the title of the lecture, of course, is The Legal Practitioner, Consumer Advocate, Human Rights Activist, and Public Interest Litigator, the case of Mr. MMA Sonny. If you ask me to expand that topic, I'll include a father, a mentor, a husband, and indeed a community leader by all means. So because Mr. Sonny was not just a legal practitioner, he was also somebody who was with the society. And in summary, what I try to say is that he left a legacy for all of us when he was alive. And myself in particular, he inspired me in a number of ways. You know, you didn't see in this man tribe. You didn't see in this man religion. You saw competence. You saw love for community. You saw somebody who had a passion to effect change. And so in all my interactions with him, I just saw a gentleman who hardly speak, but has so much energy within to be able to effect change. So he was a lawyer's lawyer in many ways. And I gave an example of one of our colleagues who ran into his office sometimes when he was a young lawyer. And he went to apply for a job in Mr. Sonny's office. And he told him that he was not recruiting. As he was going out, Mr. Sonny then called him back and said, even though I'm not recruiting, you are a young lawyer. I'll give you a space in my office so that you can start. And today, that lawyer, Mr. Bernard Oniga, is now the managing partner of Gatesville Legal. Just to show, just one example of how a single person could impact society and lives. And then, of course, Mr. Sonny was a lawyer. And he used his talent, his capacity, his knowledge to affect society positively in the area of public interest litigation, in the area of consumer advocacy, and also the area of community development. And I will just share with you, Etiosa, the toll gate. You know, so I met him, and with our friend who also had gone, Mr. Abioye Akirele, you know, we formed a committee together to brainstorm on what to do, knowing that the people were indigent and they could not stand up to government to fight the toll gate as it was being described then. So we were in a meeting, and Mr. Akirele then said, Mr. Sonny should go and take a census all around Etiosa and tell us the public infrastructures existing in the Etiosa area that we can use in supporting the government's decision. So Mr. Sonny went back and came back. We could not locate a high court. We could not locate a central market. We could not locate a central hospital. So he said what that means is that at every point in time, people of Etiosa have to be migrating to island to go to general hospital. They have to be migrating to the island to go to the high court. They have to be migrating to the island to attend central markets. So it was then, at that meeting, I developed a legal framework under Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution to challenge the decision that it was discrimination. Because there are other roads being built in Ikorodu, in Ajegunle, all over Lagos State where there was no toll. And that what did the people of Etiosa do to government? That the only road you are building in the area, you will toll it. So even though it was my name you were hearing in the media, the people doing the work on the ground for the toll gate was actually Mr. Sonny, and he did Mr. Abioye Akirele. I saw one of my sisters clapping. Let's put our hands together for him. So I'm here today to acknowledge him and give him the, if you say glory, not God, really, as because we can't share glory with God, but give him the credit, if I use that word, for the success of that endeavor. You know. So he then said it was not enough. Because at the time, the government was also proposing to do the tolling at Chevron. The tolling was not just at Admiralty. It was also to happen at Chevron. So we met again. Mr. Sonny said there's a strategy. I said, what strategy, sir? You know, because, you know, I'm not from Lagos. I'm just somebody who is passionate about justice, about equality. He said we should meet with all the Obas, all the Bales in Etiosa, and mobilize them to speak with one voice to resist the tolling within the Chevron area. And I didn't know any Bale. So he went around all the community leaders in Etiosa, all the traditional rulers, and they indeed issued a press release, which was very strange, to stand with our struggle that Lagos, they will not support tolling at the Chevron tolling point. And that was why, for any reason you will see at all, nothing ever took place at that place. Even though they were planning to do it, from the day they issued that statement, the government backed down on that. So, yes, let's put our hands together for Mr. M.M. Sonny. And then he came to GSM, because I work with this man closely. when GSM came in year 2000. And they told us that it's going to be per minute. We did everything. MTN said, no way. Once you make a call, even if it's 1 second, you should pay for 1 minute. So I then met with Mr. Sunday again. Of course, it's become like a friend. And we were designing what to do. And we said, we go to South Africa. What is the situation in South Africa where MTN is coming from? Because you can't be doing what you are not doing in your own country, in our nation here. So he gathered materials, myself and himself and Mr. Adewa Kirele again, and discovered that in South Africa it was per second billing. So we insisted. We attended conferences organized by NCC. Mr. Ndukwe was their chairman at that time, if you remember. So, but we said that was not enough. So we then set up what we call GSM Subscribers Association of Nigeria. And in the year 2000, we organized a protest physically to picket MTN office in Victoria Island. You know, and because it was something that happened in Etiosa area, Mr. Sonny and Mr. Akirele had to mobilize people, you know, to join us in that particular protest, which was reported all over the media. And eventually, we also filed a case in court, of course, as public interest litigators. But eventually, the NCC was forced to accept that Nigerians should be paying for per second billing. If you remember, yes, let's put our hands together for Mr. M.M. Sonny. If you remember in those days when GSA came, if you are to do call waiting, you will pay. If you are to send SMS, you will pay all manner of charges. But we got together to abolish those things. And the reasons why I'm giving these examples is that I say that, like Mr. Sonny, every lawyer should be an activist. So don't look at me and say Mr. Adegborowa is a human rights activist. As long as you are called to the Nigerian bar, you are an activist. And I took that from the NBA Constitution. When you look at the Constitution of NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, we're expected to promote the rule of law. We're expected to fight for the protection of human rights and the defense of due process and the rule of law. In addition to that, I said in my speech that if you check the latest Fundamental Rights Enforcement Procedure Rules, 2009, when we were advocating, you know, the earlier one was in 1980 by Fatai Williams. In those days, if you want to enforce fundamental rights, you have to get leave of court first. My Lord Justice Olukolu can remember. You have to first of all apply for leave to enforce your right. But we started advocating that how can citizens be asking for leave to enforce their right? So of course, Justice Kutigi came with these latest rules in 2009 and abolished the requirement for leave. But we also fought that if you go to India, you don't need a lawyer to fight fundamental rights in India. If government took your land, if a powerful man is oppressing you, all that you would do in India is to go to court and sit with a registrar and tell him or her what are your grievances. They will record it and file the case on your behalf and submit it. It will be assigned to a court. So we told the Honorable Justice Kutigi then that let MBA play a prominent role. If you cannot do what they are doing in India, at least give MBA, civil society organizations, human rights activists, the locals to be able to fight on behalf of the poor, the indigent. So if you see the Fundamental Rights Enforcement Procedure Rules in the opening paragraph, local standard is given to organizations, and MBA has been mentioned in particular. So it is possible for Nigerian Bar Association to take up public interest litigation on behalf of the masses, especially in respect of electricity, which I put in my paper here. Why would you say I should belong to band A in order to enjoy 20 hours of electricity? Why should you say I should belong to any band at all? You know, because the reason why government is involved in power generation It's because of the expenses. I mean, you can imagine how much you use on generator, on fuel, and the risk associated with it. If you are not careful, it can catch fire. It can hurt you. So all our resources, all our money that you get from oil, that you get from natural resources, all the things that you have cornered for yourself, use them to generate power. Use them to build roads. Because when you check the Constitution, Section 251, everything that brings money to any people, they are taken over by federal government. Admiralty, aviation, custom and excise, petroleum, anything that has money, it belongs to federal government. So don't, once you have taken all the money, then you must give me the service. Because the things that should have given us money in Lagos, for instance, maybe you allow Lagos State to generate power. Maybe you allow Lagos State to build airports. And it was very strange that I read a case recently that it was federal government that gave a concession to buy Courtney for the airports. Because of that concession, nobody else can build another airport in Lagos or any other location. So by Courtney took Lagos State to court, took federal government to court to stop the airport that was to be built in Lekki here. So if federal government has taken everything that has money, you must provide roads. You must give electricity. Because the things that we could have been using to generate funds, they are now under your care. So when we are advocating and holding government accountable to the people, there's a reason for it. Everything that the people could use to uplift their welfare, government has taken everything away. So you have to be struggling as an individual to survive. Because everything that brings money, it goes directly to federation account. So that was why we said that once you are a lawyer, you are an activist. By the briefs you are filing in court, you are changing circumstances. By the submissions you are making, by the judgments you are delivering, you are changing lives. You are changing situations. Because changing society is not just about having money. A single person like SANNI can change the entirety of Etiosa. And you can do so in your own local government. You can do so in your own state. So I then was advocating that after this conference, all lawyers, anywhere we are holding meeting of lawyers, part of the agenda of that discussion must be the state of the nation. Because you cannot be gathering to discuss the welfare of lawyers alone without talking about the nation where they reside. Lawyers who are taking Okada to go to court. Lawyers who are not being paid. Lawyers who exist in a nation where there is darkness. How do you print your papers? Look at the cost of inflation. To buy the law reports, to subscribe to Law Pavilion, is so expensive. Who will bear it? It's the clients. So the reason why we are involved in activism is actually because of society. If it was for Mr. SANNI to pay school fees, he doesn't need to be involved in what we are doing. He had enough money that will sustain himself and his family. But because of his interest and love for society, he then decided to sacrifice himself. And unfortunately, which is very unfortunate, the struggle that he fought concerning good roads, the struggle that he fought concerning electricity was what happened on the day he was traveling to Ilorin. Because a car parked there wickedly, the people driving did not have access. They claimed that there was no light. So we still hold the government accountable again for the circumstances that led to the demise of our friend. Because if there was electricity everywhere, if you have a database for all public transport people who call themselves Uber, we will not have a situation in which somebody carries you can't trace him. So we'll get government to be accountable to the people to ensure that public transportation is controlled so that public buses do not turn to a place where you rape and kill girls. That's why we are holding the government accountable. That's what Mr. SANNI stood for. And that's what we can do for his legacy, especially MBA. Not just in Etiosa, but MBA National, MBA in Lagos, MBA all over the country. to stand for the masses, to stand for the indigent, to demand justice for the poor, and ensure that once in our society, once you know that MBA speaks, the government will know that they are speaking on behalf of the people. And I gave examples in my lecture of what MBA used to do. You remember Mr. Lawa Kabasyon? He was just like another MMA Sonny who had the military government and ensured that when that tribunal was set up to try people, he insisted that lawyers should boycott it because there was no right of appeal, because the leader of the tribunal was not a lawyer. And he advocated for it. Lawyers boycotted it. Some attended, but eventually, right from that tribunal, no tribunal has ever been set up again that is headed by a non-lawyer. No tribunal has been set up again without a right of appeal. So lawyers actually will become the watchdog of society. And when I say lawyers, we include those who are practicing, those who are on the bench. So because of time, because I've already given this lecture to the MBA chairman, and I'm sure it's already on our platform on the Etiosa WhatsApp group. My challenge therefore is this. If Mr. Sonny were to be here today, the coastal road, this coastal road, nobody can toll it. This coastal road, nobody can close it. Because it was supposed to be an alternative to help the people of Etiosa. Because in the other local governments, they have a train imported from China, which costs a lot of money. You saw the amount of bridges that were constructed right from Orile to come to CMS. There's no bridge in Etiosa. This is the main only road that we are to enjoy now. So I'm asking MBA to gather together. Any day they want to put toll, please join me so that we can do what Sonny did to stop the toll gate. Any day when they finish that road, I'm just waiting for them to finish it. We'll have started the case, but let them not be scared. Once we see that they have taken it to a very long level and past Lagos State, please, let's gather together. I already have the template. We sue David Umahi, we sue President Tinubu. We ask them that road can never be tolled. That is a legacy you can do with me for Mr. MM Sonny, for the people of Etiosa, for the people of Lagos State, and the people of Nigeria. I would like to ask you to permit me to summarize this topic by urging all of us in this hall today, everybody, to carry the torchlight, to carry the baton of freedom, of justice, of equality, and of love for community. That was what these our colleagues stood for. And I'm glad the MBA has kept faith, because yesterday I saw all over the publications to remember him. When I was coming in here, I saw MMA Sonny Complex. When I got to the Ajah High Court, I saw Justice Christopher Shegun. I'm not asking that we abolish Justice Shegun, but there must be a landmark thing that the Lagos State government must name after Mr. Sonny within Etiosa here, beyond this local government. Maybe the Etiosa Road, we can call it MM Sonny Road because he stopped the tolling. Maybe other facilities, because it was because of that toll gate that we began to have high court, we began to have hospitals, we began to have markets. So I'm rounding off to make a demand on the government of Nigeria, Lagos State, to immortalize Mr. Sonny, give a posthumous award, take over the education of the children to whatever level they want to get to, and then name a monument that every lawyer will hear it and say, who is this man? They say he was a man who saved the people of Etiosa. He was a man who loved his people. He was a man who, in spite of his background, rode over challenges and became a light to all of us. I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you. Thank you.
Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. I think the Leonard Silk has done justice to the person of MMA Sunny. They were colleagues in trenches. Oh, thank God for that. So at this moment, I call on the chairman of the branch to thank the keynote speaker.
To our referred Leonard Sikh, Mr. Ebonolu Adegborua. At the time we conceived the idea of bringing you to come and give this keynote address on the commemoration of his first memorial lecture, it never dawned on us that you guys had been through the trenches to this extent. The only instance I remember was the one at the toll gate, which I saw you on the news then with Mr. SANNI, and also during the NSAS, you were together at the panel that was set up to investigate what occurred on those days. But with what we have done here today, we would have done ourselves more injustice if we have not allowed my Leonard Sikh to do the justice he has just done to the lecture he gave us. At the time that it behoves on us that you might not be here, my Lord Justice Olukolu called me out that, Chairman, you have the lecture. I said, yes. He said, you will be the one to go and speak to it. There is no way I will have been able to speak to the lecture than the way you have just done here today. Even my learned friend, where is he? Bisima Konjola, that tried to adumbrate on it, was not able to give this kind of elucidation that you have done here now. We appreciate you so much, sir. I would just want to say this, that Mr. Ebun Adegborua has sacrificed against all odds to be here with us today. He's a devoted Christian of Redeemed Christian Church of God faith. He is a pastor in Redeem. He is currently at Redemption Camp attending the Holy Ghost service from Monday. He drove down from Redemption Camp this morning to come and give this lecture, and he will be going back. Mr. Ibade Borua passed this place, drove down to Christopher Shegun Courthouse, thinking that is where the event will took place, and apologized in case he comes back late. And at the end of the day, he still made his way here. And I will please want us to please give him a standing ovation. Let's give him a standing ovation. We are so grateful, sir. We thank you, Leonard Sikh. God will continue to protect you and give you more grace and more life to spend with us. We thank you, sir. We appreciate you, sir. Please, you can have your seat. May I humbly invite the surviving son of the deceased that we are celebrating here today, in person of my dear brother Ademola Sunny, to come and give the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say on behalf of myself and the family that we are very grateful for your attendance today. For everybody that took the time to come out today to grace us at this event, we are very grateful. My much appreciation goes out to MBA Etiosa for hosting this event, and to our Leonard Silk before us, Mr. Ebonolu Adegborua. We thank you for that beautifully delivered keynote speech. We say that may God continue to grant you good life and health on this planet. Again, I would like to thank everyone for coming out here today, particularly the MBA Etiosa branch, to be specific. They've been very, very helpful since when my dad passed last year. And we pray that may God continue to strengthen this branch and strengthen Etiosa as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, without wasting our time because of those going for Juma, we want to quickly take a photo shot, and I will invite to the front here, my Lord Justice Olukolu, Leonard Sikh Adegborua, SAN, the Chief Magistrate of the Etiosa Judicial Division. Thank you, Leonard Sikh. The Vice Chairman of Etiosa Local Government, who made this possible for us to use this place today. And the chairman of the President of the Heritage Club, which Mr. SANNI serve dutifully before his demise. And having done that, may I humbly bring to the podium Mrs. Titilayo Sanni. May I also invite Ademola Sanni. May I also invite Aleromi Sanni. And our referred royal father, the Baale of Igbo Efon, Chief Olukolu, and also the one and only Etiosa, honorary member of Etiosa branch, and that is Baale Okumoyibo, Mustafa Okumoyibo, is an honorary member of Etiosa branch. There is nothing we do in Etiosa that will not be involved. We love you, sir. And we are protected by having the two Baale at the edge of the picture. May I humbly invite Alhaji Mustafa Okumoyibo to give us the closing prayer.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin. All praise and adoration is due to Almighty Allah. May you continue to be each and every one of us. May you continue to guide us, and may you continue to strengthen us. So, as I'm giving the closing prayer, today is Friday. May Almighty Allah accept all our supplication. May He grant all our prayer requests. So, special prayer to the MBA Etiosa. May the branch continue to wax stronger. Special prayer to each and every one of us. May Almighty Allah continue to be with us. As we'll be departing to for various endeavors, may Almighty Allah guide our footsteps, and may He be with us. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. And special thanks to our keynote speaker, Mr. Ebu Adeguruwa. Special thanks to you. Okay, please, likewise, Etiosa Heritage Organization, an indigenous organization which is a socio-cultural group, of which our late Sonny Adewale was the president before his demise. So we'll be having a prayer session today at Igwe for Central Mosque after our street prayer. Igwe for Central Mosque. It says Igwe for Central Mosque after Juma prayer. Thank you so much. Safe trip to our various destinations.
Thank you everyone for coming. May God bless you and take you safely to your destinations.